How many times should you forgive somebody who wrongs you? Is it once? Is it 2 times? 3 times? Or does it depend on how badly they hurt you to begin with? We'll find out right now. Has anybody ever really hurt you? And think about it for a moment. Has somebody ever done something so evil to you that you had a hard time forgiving them, thinking, and maybe rightfully so, that they didn't deserve to be forgiven? Were you able to get through it? Are you still holding on to that grudge? Do you still wish that something would happen to them that would kind of right the scales in your mind? You see, our human nature tends to want justice for when somebody slights us, but want grace and mercy when we're the ones doing the offense. And so there's an interesting story that Jesus talks about when he's asked, how many times should we forgive a person? 7 times, or what's the correct number? And Jesus says, I tell you that you should forgive somebody 70 times 7. Now, that doesn't mean that you literally need to count to like 490, and then when you hit that number, you're done, right? There's probably some enabling and some other issues that come up in that if you're around 490 times with the same person. But the idea being that it shouldn't be something that you count, right? Because forgiveness is something that was extended to us freely by Jesus himself. You see, in Jesus' life, he goes about performing these miracles, making these great claims about who he is as Lord and Savior of the world, and eventually he ends up being crucified. And during his crucifixion, when he's nailed to a plank of wood, and people are spitting on him and mocking him and asking him, what is he going to do, right? They accuse him of being able to save everyone else around him, but unable to save himself. He still looks at the whole crowd that's giving him a hard time, and he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And that phrase really sticks with me, because even if you are still kind of skeptical about the religious thing or the whole, Jesus human being thing or God, whatever, there's something still beautiful about that moment insofar as the story is concerned, because it appeals to the better part of our human nature. That it implores us to say that even when things have been done to us that are so unspeakable, so difficult, so heinous, that we are still prompted to forgive them, right? There's an old adage that says, when you hold on to bitterness, it's like drinking poison and hoping that the other person dies. And this is a brilliant remark, because basically it's just saying that when we hold on to the things inside of us that are hard to let go, it doesn't affect the other person. So my question for you is there something that you need to let go of? Is there a person that you need to forgive in your life? Now, there's an important distinction to remember here, so don't mishear me when I'm about to say this. Forgiveness does not necessarily mean that you have to or continually associate with the individual who hurt you. It's good to take time to work through the emotional steps, right? Sometimes we need to be angry. Sometimes we need to work through bitterness. Sometimes we need to work through sadness and cry or talk to a therapist or speak to a mental health professional or whatever. All those are good things. And so I don't ever want you to hear the idea that you have to short circuit your emotional process as a Christian. Because if we believe God created our emotions and we are supposed to feel those things, those are good things for us to feel. But it's important to remember that those things are not an end in and of themselves. They're a means to an end to help us reach the ultimate point of forgiveness, so that way we can live a life like Christ lived. This is an important reason why we forgive people. It's not just a spiritual thing, but there are some very practical health benefits and some life benefits that go on from this too. It helps us learn to move forward. It helps us to realize that there are some things in life, as unfair as they are, that can't change, that we don't have control over. Things are taken from us. Innocence can be stolen at the worst time. And again, we don't ever want to sound like we are downplaying the severity of that, or also that Jesus doesn't deeply care about those things and want to heal them and want to bring full restoration to you. But there are these practical sides of being able to move forward, to function and live a life where the things that happen to you don't have control over you or over your future. So if wherever you are, if you follow Jesus Christ, right, the idea becomes, hey, maybe I need to have a conversation with myself about forgiving someone, letting it go, letting the hurt go, moving past it, moving beyond it. Again, it doesn't mean that you have to enable that person or allow them to continue to hurt you in your life, but it does mean you do want to get to a point where you can say, I'm choosing to give this over to Jesus and not let it continually affect me anymore. So if you want to talk more, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. You can DM me. My handle is @Joshua_Carman. I'd love to connect with you there. Thanks so much and have a great week.